This lesson is to learn how we can change different forms of equations from one form to the other. So far, you have only seen a slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. This is the other form of a linear equation, which is called the standard form, and it can be written as ax plus by plus c equals 0. Now here, the letters a, b, and c, they will be replaced by numbers when you have an equation. X and y stay as it is. So now let's see how we can change equations from one form to the other. So to convert an equation from standard form, which is this form, to slope-intercept form, these are some of the steps that you must follow when you are converting. So your first goal is to isolate the y term on one side of the equation. Once you isolate y, it is going to start looking like this. Then you have to make sure that it looks similar to the form mx plus b. So to get to that form, you divide both sides by coefficient of y term. So whatever is in front of y term, you divide everything by that. And once you do that, you simplify and reduce, and it becomes a term or an equation that looks like y equals mx plus b. Let's look at an example. So here you're given a standard form, 6x minus 3y minus 15 equals 0. And you're asked to convert it into slope-intercept form. So your first step was to isolate y. So we're going to keep the y term on left side and move everything to the other side. Remember, when you move anything from one side of the equation to the other side, the signs switch. So here we will have negative 3y equals, now 6x goes to the other side and negative 15 goes to the other side. And when you do that, we always keep the x term in the front and the constant after, but make sure you switch the signs. So positive 6x is going to turn into negative 6x, and negative 15 is going to turn into positive 15. Now step 2 was to get rid of the coefficient of y. So now we divide everything by the coefficient of y, which is negative 3. So now we just need to simply reduce it. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, so you're just left with y here. Reduce negative 6 divided by negative 3 is going to be 2x, and positive 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. So you have turned it into y equals mx plus b form here. Now on the next slide, there's another example. Let's look at another example. So again, step 1, isolate the y term. So you have y term on this side and move everything to the other side. So positive x is going to turn negative x. Negative 7 is going to turn positive 7. Now we have to get rid of the coefficient of y, so we divide everything by y, 2. Now what was the coefficient of x here? There was a negative 1. So when you simplify, this is going to turn into y equals negative 1 over 2x plus 7 over 2. So this is again y equals mx plus b form. B is a fraction form here. Okay, now let's look at the next slide. On the next slide, we have the same equation which was on the previous page with the solution or answers match. So let's move on to the next slide. So now here, can we change now equation if it's given to you in slope-intercept form into standard form without graphing? How? Let's see. So here now we are going to look at the steps. So as you see, you're given the slope-intercept form. So you're given this form, and you have to change it into this form. So here, everything on the right side is 0, and everything has been moved onto the left side. So our first step is to move everything to one side of the equation and making sure that the coefficient of x is always positive. So how are we going to do that? I'll teach you guys. And then we're going to get rid of all the fractions by multiplying everything by the LCD, least common denominator. So let's look at, there are a couple examples here. One is easy and one is with the fraction. So let's look at the easy one first. So the easy one is y equals 5x minus 7. Now, in standard form, everything is on left side and right side is 0. So this would be simply easy. We bring everything to left side. Now, what happens if you bring everything to left side? Well, the coefficient of x is going to become negative. So that's not a good idea. And also, it's more work to move two terms onto the left side. So I'm going to not do that. Instead, I'm going to bring y to this side. So when we do that, we are only moving one term, and also the coefficient of x is going to stay positive. So on the left side, you'll have 0 equals 5x, and then I'm going to write negative y because it turned into positive. And remember, standard form is ax plus by plus c equals 0. So x term comes first. And then I'm just going to simply write it as negative 7. And that's it. You're done. Either 0 is on left side or right side, doesn't matter. If it bothers you, you can rewrite it as 5x minus y minus 7 equals 0. So that is the standard form. Now let's look at the example with a fraction. So here we have y equals 2 over 3x plus 1. Now same thing here. I'm not going to move the x and the 1 term because it's already positive. So instead, I'm going to move y to this side. So on this side, we'll have 0 equals 2 over 3x, positive y turns negative y, plus 1. Now we have to find the common denominator. So what's the common denominator here? This is over 1 and over 1. The LCD is 1. So we multiply everything by, the LCD becomes 3. So we multiply everything by 3. So each term, all of this, I'm just putting it in brackets, gets multiplied by 3. So 3 times 0 stays 0 equals 3 times 2 divided by 3 is going to be 2. So it's going to be 2x. And this is going to be negative 3 divided by 1, which is going to turn into negative 3y. And then that will be positive 1 times 3 divided by 1 is going to be plus 3. And you're done. You have a standard form now. So you have 2x minus 3y plus 3 equals 0. So we just converted from slope-intercept form to standard form. This is a little tricky. You have to come for a common denominator and multiply everything by that. So remember, when we multiply everything by that, we are only multiplying the numerator. Here, the denominator for this was 1. So don't make an error that multiplying 3 with both numerator and denominator. Okay, let's see what's on the last slide was, again, the answers to this question. And this video ends now. I would like you to complete the rest of the slides on a separate piece of paper.